As a lung specialist and head of the critical care division of Lung Center, I was already monitoring the progression of this unusual pneumonia that was causing lung failure and death even before the World Health Organization declared it a pandemic and called the disease COVID-19. When the first cases finally appeared in our country, I gathered my family at the dinner table one night and warned them of the oncoming crisis. I saw the statistics. The death rate was highest among those 60 and above and those with other health concerns. At 63, with a history of a mild stroke and heart disease, I knew that if I were to get infected, my chances of surviving was pretty much zero. I wanted to prepare my family without unduly scaring them. I could feel the emotion and see the tension on their faces as they questioned the wisdom and need to expose myself to such a risk. I explained to them that this was the ministry I had chosen to serve the Lord with. How could I shrink away from my duties and responsibilities? But foremost in my mind was, what excuse could I give my Lord? I also discussed with them plans for isolation and which room would be best suited for me to avoid contaminating my family. As head of the critical care units, I would definitely be taking care of the most severe cases. Events progressed rapidly. The Department of Health declared Lung Center as a referral center for the most severe cases of COVID-19. On March 12, our first two critically ill patients arrived. On that same day, my voluntary self-imposed quarantine started. 4 days later, I came down with fever and severe body ache. On March 20, 8 days after being exposed, I drove myself alone to the hospital to be admitted, not wanting to expose anyone to my illness. As I walked to the car, I saw my family waving goodbye from the stairs, and I vaguely remember thinking this might be the last time I would see them. The problem with being a doctor is that you know what's happening to your body as each new symptom appears, and you can anticipate the complications as each treatment is prescribed. So when my oxygen levels started dropping and I began feeling short of breath, I had to decide on whether I would allow my colleagues to pass a tube down my throat and connect me to a ventilator, which is a machine to help me breathe. To be honest, I couldn't decide. So I prayed and cried out, Lord, if you're going to take me, please don't let it come to that. Please take me quickly. More distressing than the physical pain and discomfort one feels due to the illness is the isolation and loneliness one experiences. Remarkably, although I was alone, I never really felt alone. I constantly talked to our Lord, telling Him all my complaints, the discomfort I was feeling, and the fact that I had no one to help me and minister to my needs. I frequently came to Him for guidance in choosing what treatment to take and sought Him for solace and comfort when my CT scans didn't improve as I wanted them to. Once I even asked the Lord if it is His will to let me see my wife one more time before He took me. On the surface, it did not seem to make sense that I should end up sick when there was such a need for doctors to attend to the patients. But I realized the Lord was teaching me precious lessons about intimacy with Him and the assurance of my eternal destiny. The Lord turned my illness into a blessing. I was the recipient of so much love and concern from my family, both immediate and extended, all my relatives, my patients, my friends, my D12, my D group, and my colleagues who took care of me. Everyone started praying for me. I had never felt so loved in my life. It was truly a humbling experience. I didn't deserve to live. So many of my colleagues didn't make it. But I knew our Lord had a plan and He was in control. As Jeremiah wrote in chapter 29, verses 11 to 12, For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. It's only because of God's grace and mercy that I stand before you now. I was discharged on April 6 after 17 days of confinement, and I'm back to serving the Lord in Lung Center, St. Luke's Medical Center Global City, and Siemens Hospital by seeing patients. I am Dr. Newell Nacpil. To our God be all the glory, honor, and praise.